Hansen could not immediately go back now, so he first teleported out of God's sanctuary, and as soon as he was in the Alliance, he saw on his comlink many unanswered calls from Fang Jinky. He called back and heard Fang's relieved voice, "You are not dead yet. Good people are not so easy to die. Tell Fiskai that I cannot go see him right now and will give him the mutant mount back." Their contract stipulated that if the sacred blood creature was hunted, Hansen could have a mutant beast soul mount, but since the scaled armadillo was taken by the silver bird, Fiskai's gang must have gone back with nothing. There was no reason for Hansen to keep the mount. No need. After you led the silver bird away, the gang managed to bring back the body of the scaled armadillo. They lost a little bit to the bird, but it does not matter much. They have been really worried that you might have been killed by the bird. Fang Jinky laughed. Unfortunately, I had no sacred blood beast soul bow or arrow, or I would have shot the silver bird down as well. It got lucky, joked Hansen. If you need sacred blood beast soul bow and arrow, here is a chance. Fang Jinky grinned. What chance? You are not asking me to risk my life again, right? I have no interest to do it a second time, said Hansen, actually feeling quite interested inwardly. Doomsday was good, but not quite enough to kill a sacred blood creature. In 2 months, Fiskai will enter Second God's Sanctuary and will sell some of his beast souls, including a sacred blood bow. If you are interested, you could take a look, said Fang Jinky. Will do. Hansen hung up and went outside. Where have you been? Aren't you aware that the entrance examination to Blackhawk is about to start? If you do not get admitted, do not say that I have trained you, because I cannot afford to lose face like that. I was hunting a creature with friends and something went wrong. I just got back to the shelter. I am really sorry. Hansen knew that he had been gone longer than he asked for. Whatever, your admission had nothing to do with me. I actually wish that you won't pass the exam so that I will not have to see you every day. Hansen returned home and checked in with his mother before going to bed. He was not in a hurry to claim his sacred blood beast soul. He could claim it any time at Steel Armor Shelter before the next contest started. Entrance exam to Blackhawk was in just a few days, and he planned to take the exam before finding his way from Glory Shelter to Steel Armor Shelter. But he had to make it back to Steel Armor Shelter before Fiskai auctioned his beast souls. He was very interested in that sacred blood beast soul bow. In addition, the Shrieky beast should finish evolving into a sacred blood beast by that time, and he could not waste that. Thinking of beast souls, Hansen summoned the beast soul of the scaled armadillo, which was a huge black round shield about 4 feet wide. The shield was covered in scales and spikes and looked quite fearsome. It was more for offense than defense, as whoever knocked over or cut by the shield would suffer severe injury. Really great stuff. If it's paired with the speed of the Bloody Slayer, even Qin Xuan would not dare to take a hit from it. When the entrance exam was about to begin, Qin Xuan as the station master could not leave the teleport station to accompany Hansen to Plant Hawk where Blackhawk Military Academy was. Instead, she gave Hansen an interstellar spaceship ticket and asked him to go take the exam. Hansen had already talked to Luo Sulan about going to a military academy. She was very supportive of his decision. If he could go to a famous military school and graduate, he could serve as a low-level officer instead of a soldier, even if his grades were just average. This way he did not have to suffer too much and his chance of survival on the battlefield would also be higher. If his grades were excellent, then it would be even better. In that case, maybe he would be assigned to a relatively safe position, which was what Luo Sulan wanted. Her only worry was that Hansen might not be able to pass the entrance exam to such a good school as Blackhawk. After all, Hansen only graduated from the Integrated Compulsory Education System, and his chance of entering a military academy which was challenging for even many private school graduates was indeed worrisome. On the interstellar spaceship, Hansen looked at the infinite space outside the window, and his heart started to race. It was the first time ever for him to leave planet Roka. At this moment, Hansen suddenly remembered a line from a book he once read, "My conquest is the Sea of Stars." Long interstellar travel was very boring. Many people would choose to go to the gym or go on the Skynet to kill time. Although Hansen's destination Planet Hawk was not too far away, it would still take a few days. Hansen felt rather bored sitting alone and was trying to decide if he should go to the gym. Suddenly he saw a girl sitting opposite him using her comlink to play a game that looked like Hand of God Online. Hansen thought it was similar to Hand of God because the game he played in the teleport station was via a holographic device that monitored one's entire body, while the one the girl was playing was a comlink game that could be played with one hand. The girl's fingers were long and pretty, hitting the spots near her hand at a dazzling speed. What Hansen did not understand was what seemed to be the difference between this game and the one he had played. In addition to those light spots, there were also the holographic image of a palm, which was hitting the spots nearby as if it was trying to beat the girl to them. Han Sen watched for a while and roughly understood that it was an online mini version of the game Hand of God. The one he used to play was the single-player version. After finishing her round, the girl saw Han Sen staring at her and gave him a cold glance. Han Sen then noticed that the girl was actually stunning. She was his age or maybe older, wearing a suit that looked like a uniform. She had a sweet face like a porcelain doll with small red lips and black hair. The girl saw Han Sen still staring at her and deliberately turned away, continuing to play her game. Han Sen stood up, walked next to the girl, and said with a smile, "Are you from Blackhawk?" The girl turned back and looked at Han Sen, slightly surprised. "You also go to Blackhawk?" "Not yet, I'm going to apply," Han Sen said. The girl heard his reply and seemed to have lost interest in him. There were numerous applicants to Blackhawk each year and the admission rate was less than 1 in 1,000. She thought it was just Han Sen's pickup line. She had seen too many people like him and was no longer surprised. "Sister, what is that game you are playing? It looks like a bit like Hand of God." Han Sen sat down next to the girl and continued the conversation. The girl had no choice but to turn back and look at Han Sen. Suddenly her lips turned upward into a sly smile. "Don't ask and play against me. If you win, I could even go on a date with you." The girl took for granted that everyone knew the Skynet version of Hand of God, especially an applicant to a military academy. Han Sen must be using this to get her attention. "So, if I win, you are willing to be my girlfriend?" Han Sen looked at the girl in surprise, no believing what she said was true. This girl had a sweet face and a nicer body. Her long legs and plump bosom were accentuated by her small waist. She was a beautiful girl indeed. She was still a bit young at this time, but in a few years, once she became a woman, she would be as attractive as, if not more alluring than Qin Xuan. A girl like her would become his date as long as he beat her in Hand of God. It was a great deal for him either way. Of course, Jia Yanran always keeps her words. If you are admitted to Blackhawk, you could ask around and everyone would tell you so. Jia Yanran grinned. She was a junior at Blackhawk and the president of Hand of God Society. She was definitely among the top 10 at this game in Blackhawk. Not even too many professional players had the confidence to beat her, let alone Han Sen, who had not even made it to the military school yet. "Great, let's begin now." Han Sen felt he could not miss such a great deal to get himself a pretty date before even going to school. He would not have too many opportunities like this one. Jia Yanran gave him a sweet smile. "Since it is a showdown and you could potentially have me as your date, what would you offer if you lose?" "If I lose, I will be your boyfriend. Is that fair?" Han Sen said earnestly. Jia Yanran gave him a stare and said, "Save it. Your lines don't work on me. If you lose, you cannot show your face in front of me from now until the moment we arrive at Planet Hawk." "Deal." Han Sen nodded. He saw Jia Yanran play and thought she was much slower than himself. He was confident that he could win. "What is your game ID? I will add you and invite you into my group." Jia Yanran wanted to get rid of him as fast as possible. "I'm sorry, sister, I have never played this version of Hand of God. Could you show me how to play first?" Han Sen spread out his hands helplessly and said. He used to play on the device in the teleport station and had never tried using his comlink. She saw Han Sen using his comlink number to enter the game and was quite shocked, because the pop-up window on his comlink was a tutorial, which would only appear when the game was installed for the first time. "You really have never played Hand of God?" Jia Yanran threw a surprised look at Han Sen. "Not this version. I have only played the single-player version," replied Han Sen. "The two versions are quite different, and you dared to play against me when you have never played the versus mode." Jia Yanran felt both shocked and amused, as she thought this guy was driven purely by passion indeed. He soon discovered that versus version was much more interesting than the single-player version. Playing alone simply required him to be fast, while more factors were added to the versus version, including what and when the opponent would move, which made the game more fun. Han Sen played a few rounds and gradually mastered the versus version. In fact, as long as one had the skills and ability to judge correctly, the versus version was actually easier. After all, the single-player version was all about speed, and in the versus version, all you had to be was faster than your opponent. Jia Yanran stared sharply at Han Sen, but did not say anything. It did not matter. He could not beat her no matter what ID name he used. Han Sen saw a friend request and the ID name was Souvenir. Setting up an online game room and password, she invited Han Sen to enter. The moment Han Sen entered the room, Jia Yanran picked a level and started the match. At the end of the countdown, a holographic image was projected from his comlink. In addition to the image like a crystal ball, there was also the image of Jia Yanran's pretty hand. Jia Yanran saw a spot flashing and immediately moved a finger over to touch it. But before she could do that, she saw a finger of her opponent on it, and the spot disappeared. Jai Yanran did not mind it and thought Han Sen got lucky. That spot was closer to his palm anyway. When the second spot appeared, she pointed to it at full speed. But when her little finger was about to touch it, a finger from the holographic image once again beat her to it. Ding! The spot disappeared and Han Sen gained another point, and Jai Yanran's score remained 0. Jai Yanran paused but still believed that it was pure luck. A rookie like him could never be better than she. But when the third spot appeared, Jai Yanran once again lost the spot she wanted to press. Jai Yanran raged, as this time she saw clearly that Han Sen was targeting her, only aiming at the one spot she wanted to press. "Brat, I will let you know you should never mess with a Blackhawk girl." Jai Yanran was fully focused this time and was prepared to teach Han Sen a lesson. She still thought she had just lost a few points because of her carelessness. However, the same thing happened to the fourth spot and she still did not get a single point. Jai Yanran was getting more and more angry. Her slender fingers danced away, but regardless of which spot she went for, her opponent could always hit it first. Ding ding ding. The sound of spot getting hit continued to ring. Jai Yanran was dumbfounded as she was not even able to get a single spot. Han Sen had got them all. Impossible. This is not possible. At the end of the game, Jai Yanran was stunned by the score 0-59. She had tried 59 times and was blocked 59 times. Han Sen did not hit any other spot than the ones she was going for. He was just targeting her. But Jai Yanran could not believe that as the president of Hand of God Society, she would get no points at all, which seemed absurd. How is anyone able to do this? Even Jing, who is the best player in Blackhawk, could not have done this, not to mention the kid has not even been admitted to Blackhawk. Thinking of this, Jai Yanran bristled, because she thought of another possibility. Legend has it that a hacker had designed a cheating device of Hand of God, which could 100% prevent the opponent from getting any points. Exactly what had happened. Han Sen must have used this cheating device in their game. Jai Yanran was more convinced when she thought about it. Nothing could explain how he could have blocked all her points. Humans simply could not be so accurate. Even some could achieve this. A kid who had not even been to military school would not be one of them. Sister, so I won, right? Han Sen walked over with a smile. Having such a pretty girlfriend when he just entered the school was something he would be quite proud of. You used a cheating device, so it does not count, Jai Yanran said angrily. Cheating device. Han Sen was a bit shocked. Stop pretending. You blocked all my points and it simply looked fake. If it was not for a cheating device, how could you have done it? Jai Yanran pouted and said. Her look seemed to be saying, I have already seen through how despicable you are. I do not know what a cheating device is. Han Sen spread out his hands. Keep pretending if you will. Jai Yanran was certain that Han Sen had cheated. If you do not believe me, we can have another match, Han Sen said. You have a cheating device, so the result would be the same no matter how many times we play. Jai Yanran curled her lips with disdain. Han Sen was dumbfounded and said, my comlink is here. You can check yourself and see whether I have a cheating device installed. I do not understand how it works or where you hide it. Jai Yanran had determined that Han Sen had cheated and she did have a point. Han Sen's performance looked like he was cheating indeed. His ability to predict and his reflexes were so strong that even Lee Dongmu was not his match, let alone Jai Yanran. Han Sen felt that he was wronged, but Jai Yanran would not believe him. Then how can I convince you that I did not cheat? Han Sen spread out his hands helplessly. Izzy, when we arrive at Blackhawk, we could have another match using the professional equipment there, and if you could still win, I will believe that you did not cheat and will then honor my promise, Jai Yanran said with confidence. She believed Han Sen must have used a cheating device which would not work on professional equipment. His scheme would be exposed then. Alright then, Han Sen smiled and said, but you gotta tell me what your name is. My name is Jai Yanran, and you can ask anyone to find out where I am. Jai Yanran believed Han Sen had cheated and would not be her match at all, so she told him her real name without hesitation. Beautiful name. Han Sen smiled. Well, if you want to enter the school and play against me, you must be admitted first, and a nobody could never enter Blackhawk, Jai Yanran thought to herself. Han Sen did not bother her anymore, but went back to his own seat and continued to play the versus version of Hand of God. He only played against Jai Yanran because it was fun and did not really think that this would win him a pretty girlfriend, so he did not really care. Although Jai Yanran was beautiful, Qin Xuan and Yang Manli were not bad either. Therefore he was not really smitten, but only thought she looked sweet and was an interesting girl. Jai Yanran was no longer in the mood to play. She gave Han Sen a stare before going to the lounge and taking some rest. As he continued to play the game, Han Sen was feeling less bored. He did not see Jai Yanran again until disembarking. She took her luggage and got on a private luxury aircraft, giving him another stare before leaving. Han Sen paid no attention to that and checked in at the hotel King Xuan had booked for him, waiting for the entrance exam to begin. Military schools were different from how they had been centuries ago. In this era, one could take the entrance exam of whichever military school one wanted to go to, as long whoever qualified would be admitted. With Han Sen's condition, he could pass the exam on his own. But with King Xuan's recommendation, he could benefit from the special enrollment program and meet lower standards. However, in this case, he needed to do much better in archery. This was nothing difficult for Han Sen. He controlled his strength to reach just the standard of special enrollment, and did not stand out in archery either, simply finishing the task. In spite of this, Han Sen's performance in archery was still among top 10. In this era, very few people practiced archery, although archers were highly valued in God's sanctuary. In the Alliance, any sniper could use a modern weapon to kill an archer, despite the fact that it was much harder to learn archery. In addition to specially cultivated soldiers, very few people would learn archery on their own, and even fewer were good at it. The reason the special enrollment program existed was that Black Hawk's Department of Archery was one of the weakest among all military schools in the Alliance, which was a disgrace to a famous school like Black Hawk. That was why they were trying to recruit student archers to revitalize the Department of Archery. Smoothly admitted to Black Hawk as a specially enrolled student, Han Sen went through some procedures and became a military school student. After reporting the result to his mother, Han Sen did not hear Luo Sulin speak for a long while. He faintly heard her sobbing. "My son was admitted to a famous school," Luo Sulin said with blissful tears after a while. Han Sen heard her voice and his eyes became wet. His mother had been through so much these years. After informing his mother, Han Sen called King Xuan and she said casually, "Congratulations. I have taken care of the procedures for you to join the squad. From now on, you are my guy. Within a week, your mother and sister will be under the protection of the military. Unless you kill Son of Heaven's father or marry his wife, he probably will not be so desperate that he risks doing something stupid. Your family will be safe in the Alliance, about which you can absolutely rest assured." King Xuan solemnly committed. Han Sen sat up, his eyes falling on the shrieky beast he was feeding. Its fur was dark and shiny like black jade, and it was twice the size it used to be. The shrieky beast has finally evolved into a sacred blood creature. Han Sen was filled with ecstasy. Carrying a dagger to kill it, he felt his mouth watering. He was so hungry after the long sleep and his body was so tired. This shrieky beast would do well to provide him with some nutrition. Sacred blood creature shrieky beast killed. No beast soul gained. Eat its meat to gain 0 to 10 sacred Geno points. Han Sen had little interest in listening to the voice. He was staring at the meat cooking in the pot with his mouth watering. His stomach was rumbling as he was starving. But Han Sen was still being patient. He waited until the meat stew was ready and started to gobble directly from the pot. Meat of sacred blood shrieky beast eaten. 1 sacred Geno point gained. Han Sen gorged himself silly and devoured nearly 20 pounds of meat and soup altogether, which even scared himself. But as the warmth spread in his body, he felt so comfortable as if he was a sponge that was filled with water. Sacred blood meat is indeed wonderful. If I could have such a pot every day, I would be so healthy and strong. Han Sen licked his lips. Unfortunately, he only had such a blessing every 3 months. With the 5 sacred Geno points gained from eating the shrieky beast, he now had 34 sacred Geno points. It had only been half a year and he had 1/3 the maximum count of sacred Geno points. No one would believe him even he told people the truth. He went to the plaza and bought a primitive creature the size of a chicken and fed the black crystal to it. While doing this, Han Sen had something else on his mind. He could finally claim his beast soul reward from the contest. No matter what kind of beast soul he got, it would be a sacred blood one, what many people could only dream of. What is the best? A bow, a mount, or a humanoid beast soul? Han Sen thought it would be difficult for him to choose, because he wanted everything. However, he had only one chance and it was not even up to him. At midnight when there was no one around, Han Sen quietly entered the martial ring, which had been closed after the contests. Except for him, no one could enter before next year's contest started. After he had claimed his prize, he would not be able to enter either. Standing in front of the sacred steel, Han Sen placed his palm on the steel and suddenly all kinds of images of beast souls started shifting rapidly on the steel. Han Sen removed his palm and the images were still changing and slowed down after a while. Han Sen's heart was racing with the images. When the image froze on one beast soul, Han Sen was completely attracted by it. A seductive blonde woman with hourglass figure and scarlet pupils in red fitting armor, and a ruby crown. walked out from the steel and smiled at Han Sen, almost stealing his soul away. Then she became a shadow and entered Han Sen's mind. He suddenly heard the voice say, "Sacred Blood Beast Soul Fairy Queen gained." Han Sen was ecstatic and quickly checked the details of Fairy Queen. Type of Sacred Blood Beast Soul Fairy Queen, Shapeshifting. Shapeshifting. Han Sen almost cheered, but on a second thought, it was a shame that such a beautiful beast soul could not be summoned to stand alone, but had to be integrated in his body. But a shapeshifting beast soul was undoubtedly the most expensive beast soul type, not to mention it was a humanoid. Suddenly Han Sen's body was wrapped in red armor, and a ruby crown was worn on his head. His pupils became scarlet like the Fairy Queen and his dark hair turned blonde. Basically, he turned into the male version of the Fairy Queen. Han Sen felt all aspects of his fitness had been greatly improved. Although the improvement in speed and strength was not as great as with the Bloody Slayer, all aspects were very balanced. This beast soul also came with a suit of armor, which was not as strong as the Black Beetle armor, but would be comparable to a top mutant armor beast soul. The Fairy Queen beast soul had enhanced his abilities in all aspects in a balanced way. To Han Sen's surprise, his eyesight seemed to have become very strong after shapeshifting into the Fairy Queen. He could even see the fine lines of a rock very far away from him. He was also feeling odd about something, as if everything has slowed down in his eyes. Han Sen did not know whether it was just his illusion. The only pity was that when using Fairy Queen, he could not use Bloody Slayer or Black Beetle armor. But this did not matter much, because Fairy Queen's own armor was also quite good. The best part for Han Sen was that he could use this beast's soul and shapeshift when using his real identity, and no one would know it was Dollar's prize. Therefore, as Han Sen, he could also use a powerful beast soul, and did not have to turn into Dollar to use Bloody Slayer and Black Beetle armor. Fairy Queen was just what Han Sen needed now. He did not want to be considered weak by the world forever. All the fairies and myths and legends are with wings. If Fairy Queen also has wings, it would be perfect, Han Sen thought greedily. After the excitement, Han Sen sneaked out of the martial ring. The day after tomorrow was the first day of school. He had to go register and then go to his dormitory. Black Hawk was a military school, so the rules followed military standards. Han Sen's roommates were all specially enrolled archery students like himself. Han Sen was the last one to arrive in the dormitory. The other three had moved in for several days. "Brother, why are you so late? We cannot wait." When Han Sen had moved into the dormitory, his three roommates surrounded him like a bunch of hooligans trying to tease a maiden. Han Sen subconsciously protected his chest and looked at them with vigilance. "Brother, do not be afraid. We just want to discuss with you who our leader should be. I think we should go by age. The oldest should be the leader. As you all know, wisdom grows with age. So, I will make a great leader." The speaker was a big man more than 6 feet tall. The rolling of his eyes suggested that he might not be so trustworthy, unlike what was suggested by his muscular body. To enhance team spirit among students, Black Hawk always trained students by room. So the leader of a room would have more say in most things. That was why they were all trying to be the leader. Shijikeng, that does not really make sense. Age does not represent anything. I think as a leader, one must be intelligent to gain most benefits for our room. My IQ is 167. How about you? A gentle and delicate teenager blinked and said, "Lu Meng, that is not true either. IQ is nothing. I think for a leader the most important thing is EQ. Many with high IQ are idiots in real life. How can someone like that be our leader?" retorted the cunning big man Shijikeng. "Who are you calling an idiot?" Lu Meng squared his shoulders and wanted to argue with Shijikeng, but cringed as he saw she raising his sturdy arm that could bear the weight of a horse. "We are all in Department of Archery, so let's decide who the leader is by archery. Whoever is the best shot should be our leader so that we could establish a goal together," suggested Zhang Yang with big eyes, bushy eyebrows and sunny disposition while doing push-ups. "New guy, what do you say?" Shijikeng and Lu Meng looked to Han Sen. "I think that fellow has a point. Since we are all archery students, the best archer should be our leader." As a part of the group, Han Sen felt it was necessary for him to express his opinion. 2 votes versus 1 vote versus 1 vote. It's done then. We will see who is the best archer by each shooting 10 arrows, and whoever gets the highest score will be our leader, Zhang said and jumped up. Sweat fell from his bronze skin and he disregarded it. Hugging Shijikeng and Lu Meng, he said, "In any case, we are classmates and roommates. Learning and making progress together is the most important thing. Before graduation, we need to make our Department of Archery the best in the entire alliance. Brothers, work together. Get out." Shijikeng and Lu Meng threw Zhang's arms off. They were tired of the preaching of this hot-blooded kid the past few days. The 4 young men went to the training hall, and Zhang Yang got the highest score, shooting at bullseye every time. Lu Meng was second, Han Sen third, and Shi Jiqing, the biggest and oldest, was fourth. Han Sen did not want to be the leader, runner-up, or the last, so he got himself the third place. The first 3 months in Black Hawk was the hardest. Every day they must attend the collective training and lectures. They must grasp all the basic knowledge in these 3 months. Although they were in Department of Archery, they still needed to learn using firearms, operating warframes, driving aircrafts, and other fundamentals. Black Hawk had way better facilities than the integrated compulsory education system. All kinds of firearms, warframes, and aircrafts can be practiced on, and Han Sen had learned many things that he had not even heard of before. In these 3 months, Han Sen was learning like a sponge, constantly absorbing water. 3 months later, all 4 of them passed a comprehensive assessment and officially became Black Hawk students. In addition to a few compulsory courses, the rest were all elective courses. Apart from not being allowed to leave the school, they were quite free. As long as one could pass the semi-annual assessment, one could even skip all the courses. But if one failed the assessment, there was only one opportunity to take it again. And if one failed the second time, one would be expelled from school with no exception. There was a special teleport station on campus, and anyone could go to God's sanctuary at any time. There was not too many restrictions about that. The 4 young men who had just passed the comprehensive assessment ordered a few dishes and several bottles of wine at the cafeteria, celebrating the beginning of their life in Black Hawk. When they were enjoying the meal, the holographic image in the cafeteria became a match, and instead of combat, it was a game of Hand of God. Jai Yanran, Shi Jiqing suddenly shouted, staring at the pretty girl in the holographic image. Even Lu Meng and Zhang Yang were staring at Jai Yanran. She is famous. Han Sen saw Jai Yanran and was reminded of their agreement on the way here. But then he was too busy and forgot about it. Are you serious? You don't know our campus belle? She is a junior now. Her sweet face, seductive figure, fair skin, and 36D. Shi Jiqing stopped and looked around. He continued when seeing everyone was paying attention to the image. Jai Yanran is also the president of Hand of God Society. She is among top 5 at this game in our school. A goddess with both brain and beauty. She has many suitors, but no one was successful. Why? Asked Han Sen. No one is good enough for her. I heard that her family has quite some influence in the military, and ordinary families simply are not their match, said Shi Jiqing with some regret. Even if her family was okay with it, Jai Yanran will certainly not go out with you. Lu Meng curled his lips, as if she would go out with you. Shi Jiqing was unwilling to show any weakness. Haha, where there is a goal there is hope. You have to stay hopeful. Since Jai Yanran is the president of Hand of God Society, let's join that society and try to approach her. If she sees our potentials, maybe she will go out with one of us, suggested Zhang Yang confidently. Shi Jiqing and Lu Meng's eyes lit up, and they agreed hurriedly. Great idea. Let's go. We will apply for Hand of God Society right now. When they got there, all 4 of them were stunned and understood the meaning of People Mountain People Sea. The line of applicants was so long that it almost went out of the school gate. We are in Department of Archery and must join an archery society. No need to waste our time here, said Lu Meng solemnly. I agree with both of you. Han Sen nodded quickly when seeing the long line. If he waited in the line, his whole day would be wasted. Go in the line now. A real man never quits. Zhang Yang grabbed Shi and Lu and joined the line. Han Sen was lucky that Zhang Yang did not have a third hand. It chanced that his comlink was ringing and he saw the call was from Fang Jinky. Brother, do you still want that sacred blood bow? I haven't been able to reach you and Fiskai has already entered Second God's Sanctuary. Han Sen answered the call and immediately heard Fang Jinky's complaint. Han Sen suddenly smacked his forehead and cried, I am sorry. I was in military training and was not allowed to use comlink. I have completely forgotten about this. Is the bow still there? Yes. Fiskai gave it to Thumb, but... Fang Jinky paused. But what? Han Sen asked. I need to ask you something and you need to tell me the truth. Did you get the beast soul of that scaled armadillo? Are you willing to exchange? Fang Jinky asked. Han Sen hesitated, and then said, yes, I have it. Do they intend to exchange with the bow? What type of beast soul is it? Fang Jinky asked. A big round shield with spikes, Han Sen replied. Haha, that will do. If you want to exchange, I will contact Thumb and you two could meet and discuss between yourselves. Fang Jinky laughed. Please contact him. Han Sen was not the kind of guy that purely relied on brute force, so the shield was less useful to him. If he could trade it for a bow, it would be fantastic. Han Sen entered God's Sanctuary knowing the time and place to meet. Good shield, it really is a masterpiece. In a grove, Thumb caressed the shield as if it were his lover. The bow is also a wonderful bow. Holding a large black horn bow, Han Sen was also obsessed. How shall we trade? Thumb looked at Han Sen eagerly. One priceless item for another? Han Sen said softly. Great minds think alike. Thumb gave Han Sen a thumbs up cheerfully. Brother Thumb, I wish you will be unstoppable anywhere you go with this shield. Han Sen laughed. Thumb wielded the spiked shield, laughed and said, and Brother Han, I wish you will be invincible no matter who you are against with this bow. The two smiled at each other, put away their treasures and left the grove, both very satisfied with the transaction. Han Sen returned to his dorm at night and saw his 3 roommates playing Hand of God. Seeing Han Sen back, Shi Jiqing ran over, threw an arm around Han Sen's shoulder, and grinned, Sen, we are playing Hand of God. Join us. Good brothers should share everything. Lu Meng curled his lips and said, your skills are so bad that even if he joins us, he would still beat you. Cut it. You won only twice and it was because I was not paying attention. When I get serious, you would lose so bad. Shi Jiqing smiled and said to Han Sen, Sen, let's play together. You don't have anything to do anyway. Practice with me. Okay, on the Skynet. Han Sen smiled. Our school has a special BattleNet designed for Hand of God. You can register an account and add me. My 499 is Optimus Prime. Shi Jiqing carefully taught Han Sen how to register. Han Sen registered a BattleNet account and named his ID My Girlfriend is Jai Yanran. He registered successfully and Shi Jiqing hurried him to enter the game. Han Sen entered the game and sent a friend request to Shi Jiqing. #T, Sen, you ID's got some swag. Shi Jiqing saw Han Sen's ID and called out. Lu Meng quickly took a glance and gave a crooked smile. Sen, you are asking for trouble on the BattleNet with this ID. All the players playing this game think of Jai Yanran as their goddess. I didn't know you have such ambition. I like it. Zhang Yang looked at it and patted Han Sen on the shoulder, feeling satisfied. Well, cut the crap. Let me beat you now. Let us practice. Shi Jiqing was so excited that he had a slip of the tongue and quickly corrected himself. Han Sen accepted the invitation of Shi Jiqing and entered his game room. Shi Jiqing chose the difficulty and started the game. After the countdown ended, the game officially began. Lu Meng and Zhang Yang were not in the mood to watch the match and each found another opponent online and started to play against. Shi Jiqing was very excited as he kept losing to Zhang Yang and Lu Meng in the game all afternoon and could eventually gain some self-confidence back by playing with Han Sen. He was thinking that he should go easier on Han Sen the first round in case Han Sen gave up too soon. As long as he let Han Sen win by a narrow margin, he could get Han to play with him a few more rounds and settle his craving. That will be all for now. I hope you find this story interesting. Leave a like, subscribe, and enable notifications so you won't miss the next part of this story. Have a wonderful day. Goodbye.